episode 2 of Pick and Troll. I'm here with Rex, coming to you from the Breakdown Sports. I am Jordan, aka Gordon Von Denham. Episode number 2, we did our first episode on Black Friday. So, I believe it was Black Friday, possibly Thanksgiving. But we're back once again. We will be here a couple times a week, giving you our plays and just our thoughts on some games, recap of injuries, upsets, things like that. So without further ado, please go ahead and check out our social media. Check us out on Twitter at breakdown_sports, our website, www.thebreakdownsports.com, and we're on Instagram as well. Same handle as Twitter, breakdown_sports. Facebook isn't heavily utilized, but you can search for us there, The Breakdown Sports, and you'll be able to find us. So, getting right into it, first week of college basketball had a handful of upsets. We had a number of ranked teams get taken down by some mid-major teams. So I'm going to go ahead and run through those, and then I'll turn it over to Rex, see if he has any thoughts, news, or injury news, anything like that. First one I want to mention was from Sunday. Richmond took down Kentucky. I think they ended up beating them by 12 or 14 points. Kentucky could not hit a three. I think when I checked in the fourth quarter, they were like 1 for 7 from three. So they were really struggling to come back once Richmond really put the pressure on them. And Richmond was shooting well. So they had a really good look there and performed well. The one right before that was San Francisco taking down Virginia, which was interesting because San Francisco lost to UMass Lowell, which is the second UMass to start their season. So for them to then upset UVA, believe in overtime, was a bit of a surprise. LSU dropped to St. Louis. LSU, their defense can't stop anyone really, struggling on that end of the floor. St. Louis seems like they're shooting better from the stripe this year. Hopefully not going to be as bad as they were last year at a 45-50% free throw team, and they were able to take them down the Billikens Classic. Did not know that St. Louis had their own MTA, but in 2020, I think anything goes. And then the last one that I want to mention, not really a top tier team, but South Carolina got the doors blown off by Liberty. Liberty, in the Passion of Christ, has really performed well this year. So that's one of the things that I've seen people talking on Twitter about how Catholics and Christians are really taking COVID seriously, and those teams are performing well in college football and college basketball. South Carolina lost to Liberty by 16 points, 78-62. So those were 4 of the bigger upsets that we had in week 1. Rex, you got any thoughts on those or anything else to share?
Liberty was a solid squad last year. I think they had like 26, almost 30 wins last season. So, yeah, maybe people were just sleeping on it. Name recognition there. Second part, A-10's legit. Not as a big dog as Dayton last season, but still maybe not stronger in the middle pack. But, yeah, A-10's legit. Big game today for Davidson. We'll see what they can do there. And maybe my most surprising outcome of this whole thing was Houston beating Texas Tech pretty handily. Texas Tech was kind of never in that game. McClung really couldn't get it going. Houston is just rolling. I know they were dogs in that game, I believe, so nice win for them there. Definitely could be a top 10 team come the end of the year. Caleb Mills is a great player to watch.
Yeah, I think Houston was like 3.5-point dogs in that game. And to take down a Texas Tech, Chris Beard defense and kind of just handle them in the way that Houston did shows just how explosive they are on the offensive side. All right, moving on. So as we talked in episode 1, and as we've shared a little bit on Twitter, we are running something of a model this year. Through the first week of the season, the model is just under 57%. It is 76, 58, and 5, so 5 pushes. For some reason, that's what stuck out the most to me. It's just that we've landed on that number 5 times already through 6 days of games. And then our multi-point edges, so basically 2+ points or a little bit over there. We're at 59%, 59.5%, 34, 23, and 2. So through just about a week of college basketball, seems like we're doing pretty well. hopefully we can sustain that for another week or so, and then we'll be sure to start sharing more information on that as we go. Anything on that?
The one thing I see is we've talked about with Chicago State and Missouri Valley State. Before those teams, I just used to laugh at them and be like, man, these teams are really bad. Now when it's almost an auto L, I think Missouri Valley State finally got a cover in their last game. But the edges that you see on some teams is very far off from the pack. I don't know. We'll see how bad the bottom is, but that's always something to take with a grain of salt in these. Because today, there's one gross, huge edge today that you couldn't tempt me to play that.
Is that the Villanova one, or is it the Grand Canyon one?
Well, I'm just not getting involved in Grand Canyon, but it's the Nova Hartford. I just want nothing to do with that game, especially after getting the Va Tech win. Back-to-back Novas, no thank you.
I mean, I know Grand Canyon's like a trendy team. People love the atmosphere of their arena that they have. They were a team that recently came up to D1. I think they've only been in D1 3 or 4 years. But for them to be 31-point favorites against Miss Valley State really says something about that team.
Yeah, it sure does. That's just one where I'll check the score later, see if the model gets a win or not.
Yeah, no one's tuning into that one. It's probably like an ESPN3 game because ESPN feels bad charging, what is it, $4 a month for you to even watch Missouri Valley State. So moving on to our picks, I've got 4 picks today. Rex has 3. We share 3 of our picks, all are model edges. So I will first lead it off here. First pick that I have is UIC +2. They're taking on Valpo. Game is currently down to a pick. The projection had it as UIC, so Illinois Chicago, slight favorite, just about a half point there. What really stuck out to me in this one is that UIC still seems to be pretty undervalued. They had a decent win over Central Michigan, which is probably something we might touch on a little bit later. For UIC, they're playing well. They're really fast-paced offense. When I look at the metrics, they have the edge in virtually every single category. They're shutting teams down from the 3 line, which is huge, especially for a team like UIC that plays in the horizon, where you don't have a lot of talented players. Being able in your non-conference and conference games to shut teams down from 3 makes it a lot easier on the team. They're also getting a ton of assists. Their field goal assist rate is very, very high. So that's something else that I like. And they're taking the ball away a lot. So they're scoring a lot on fast breaks from turnovers in the half court. So we like to see that. Getting 2 points with them seemed like an easy one for me. For a moment, it touched like 2.5, but it's now down to a pick in most places. Pinnacle has UIC -1, Bookmaker has them +1, and most other books have them at a pick. So I'm backing UIC here. Strictly metrics, just seeing that they are the superior team to Valpo, and that now it seems like the market's starting to agree with that.
Yeah, so can't say I've caught a UIC game yet, but they're definitely a team that they want to win the Horizon. Can they? That's a different question. That's a different stream for another day. But I can say didn't watch Valpo Vandy live, but I did watch the full rewatch the other day because I did have Valpo +6. They got a push on a buzzer beater 3. What I took the most out of that game was I see in the advanced metrics it really likes UIC's defense a lot, and it's kind of like sleeping on Valpo's a little bit more. And when I was watching the game, Valpo got destroyed by Scottie Pippen Jr. and the other player was Maxwell Evans. Everyone else they held under 10. So it seems like UIC seems like they are not great at stopping the opposing's top guy score, so they don't have a go-to defender. Yep. But as a team, they're solid. So no strong feel here. Model saying go with UIC. You got to look at it here because Valpo kind of looked uninspiring against a pretty poor Vandy team.
Yeah, one thing I just pulled up Bart Torvik real quick. Looks like was Valpo fouling a lot against Vanderbilt? Seems like they they're one of the bottom 50 teams in free throw rate on the defensive end.
Yeah, they were. And then especially at the end of the game, you had a lot of fouls. It just accumulated where I think they fouled like 5 or 6 times because it was always under 9 points throughout the whole game.
Yep. So last thing I'll mention about this, because it's kind of two shitty teams and we shouldn't talk about UIC and Valpo for that long. This is one of those games where I think that lines makers just don't know what to do with these two teams. What I saw is that KenPom had UIC as 4-point dogs. So I think that when lines makers were making the odds, they didn't want to set it at 4. They set it at 2, and they were just hoping to get some even action on both sides. Seems like there's heavy support on UIC, and that's just something to look out for when you are looking at these like teams ranked between 150 and like 300. You got to look at what the projections are versus what the market's offering, because a lot of times they're just copying those straight from KenPom or Bart Torvik or another projection source. And I think that that's, if you have a good feel on a team and you've watched some of their games and you know the players, I think that's a really good edge you can have, is if you kind of key in on those variances between the projections and what the market is pushing.
Yeah, don't hate on the mid-majors, though. They'll make you the same amount of money if that ticket cashes as Kentucky, Kansas tonight. So wherever you get that edge.
Absolutely. I'm going to turn it over to you. You want to talk about one of the ones that we're sharing?
Yes, sir. So let's start it off with the one that tips off in an hour and a half. We got Texas versus IU. It's a game where Texas is 17th ranked and IU's not ranked. But if you look at KenPom, Bart, or any other ranking sources, these are 2 top 15 teams. So maybe they're not getting loved by the national media just yet. But when you're looking in the advanced stats, these are 2 teams that crush it. With Texas, Jordan and I are both backing them at plus 2.5. It's moved down a number here. We'd still play it to +1 or a pick 'em there. Wouldn't want to be laying a -1 or anything greater in this matchup. So still get it when you can get the plus odds. And with Texas and Shaka Smart's team, I'm just hoping for a consistent season from these guys because they have the talent. They return 97% of their players. Greg Brown is a baller. So this is where Texas, the talent just a little too much against this IU side. It's hard. You can pick and back either sides given what stats you look at. We just like it because the model had it as Texas as a -1. So once we saw it open at 2 and 2.5, we laid it there with the 2.5.
Yep. I don't really got a whole lot to add there. You covered that one fairly well. I think this is football school versus basketball school, and that's kind of why the line opened where it did. I think a much fairer opening line would have been closer to a pick. It opened 1.5. Something Rex and I were chatting this morning. The numbers start to steam. So the number moved from Indiana -1.5 all the way up to Indiana -3 in the matter of, I think it was like 5 minutes that the game had been on the board. That really stuck out to me because my thought was that it was going to be a head fake. I was correct. Rex and I were able to jump on it at 2.5, but as we said, it's now down to 1.5. So seems like someone really liked Texas. They wanted to get a 2 or 2.5 or maybe even that juicy 3. And they were just kind of putting out some money on that opening lines from a well-respected account, and that's what moved the line there. I like Texas. I like Shaka Smart. I watched a VCU documentary, so I'm all Team Shaka at this point. But as a fellow bald man, Shaka needs to shave his head again. He looks ridiculous, and he looks like Bo Rat.
So where I think this game is basically going to be determined at is fellow breakdown contributor talking in the Slack right now, going to get ready to suit up for IU a little bit. Is Joey Brunk playing? Because they have Brunk and Tyrese Jackson Davis. Those are their only 2 guys is with size. And Texas, they have some nice big guys in Greg Brown, Jericho Sims, and Kai Jones. So this is where, and they even have 2 more guys off the bench. So Texas, we saw them in the first games. They were going to the inside, finished on a lot of dunks. So if Texas can control the paint here, I think that's why the model likes them better because the guards match up pretty evenly. I think you got to give the advantage to the big guys.
Yep. And yeah, just an update on Joey Brunk from collegefantasyupdate.com. Highly recommend the site to anyone who has not checked that out. They said that in the post-game conference, it was said that he may be available as the team progresses in the tournament. Personally, I don't think that that's going to be a game that's 15 hours later and that's progressing through the tournament. I think he might be available for the next game, but I don't see him playing today. Next game that I will cover for us, kind of a stinky game. We have actually, which one do I want to? I'll take the stinkier of the two. I'll take St. Mary's taking on Nicholls State. Nicholls State 2-2. St. Mary's is 2-1. We are backing St. Mary's here. We grabbed -12. It's currently -13, but we still have an edge on that, projecting it at St. Mary's -14. St. Mary's has edges across all the analytical sides. One area where Nicholls State actually has a little bit of an edge is in their field goal attempts. They're putting up a lot of shots, so they play super fast, which is very contradictory to how St. Mary's is playing. St. Mary's is one of the slower teams in the nation, while Nicholls State really just guns. I think that when you have a roster like Nicholls State, which isn't filled with 3 and 4 star recruits, you might have a couple transfers from mid majors who are looking to establish themselves more in a program, and otherwise you just have kind of some leftover guys who aren't going to be taken by any of the popular mid majors or high majors. That's the only way you can play. You got to play it fast. I really like St. Mary's to play their style of offense in this game. Nicholls State has lost to both Cal and Santa Clara. They lost to Santa Clara by like 15 points. Joseph Vranchik is his name. He had a crazy double-double. He had like 19 points and 15 boards. I think that St. Mary's is about on par with a Cal team out of the Pac-12, which is by no means a top Pac-12 team. I like St. Mary's getting the 12 here. I think that this is certainly puts them in position to control things. I think their defense is much stronger than what Nicholls State can output on offense, and I think that St. Mary's won't have an issue in taking this double digits, where we are backing them at -12. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, with here, kind of similar matchups, but given that St. Mary's, they kind of historically they've seemed to thrive and blow out when they play these shittier teams.
Mm-hmm.
Bart has St. Mary's at 78. They have Nicholls at like 250 something. So that's where Nicholls likes to push the pace. They play at the 18th fastest. You think St. Mary's is really going to let you do that to them? St. Mary's have played tougher opponents. They still kept every game slow. So it really doesn't matter who St. Mary's plays. If you tried to go fast on them, they're going to be like, nope, we're just going to go. Memphis had the talent that kind of had a little bit of the faster pace. So when you have the qualities better, that's what gets St. Mary's out of their game. But in this one, they should own it. Laying the -12 is always scary come the end of the game. We've seen the half-court buzzer beaters on bad beats last night. If you've missed those, just blow-up games. So that's my only concern in this one. This is an easy double-digit win for St. Mary's. Yep. Just too good across the board.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really sticks out from Nicholls State is that they happen to force a lot of turnovers on defense. But I think it's just that they press, they push fast, and they move the ball on both sides of the court. So I think that, like you said, playing a St. Mary's team that is considerably more talented, St. Mary's is going to play their style of ball. I don't think Nicholls State is going to have a lot of turnovers in this one.
Nope. And then just like looking at Nicholls' top contributor is Ty Gordon, and past them, it's very rough on that roster. No one's shooting the ball well. So that's where St. Mary's should be able to own this one.
Yep. Go ahead and take it away for the last play that we have before we get into some other stuff.
Yes, we got the Championship Classic coming up, and any other notable games any of you viewers or watchers right now want your thoughts. Let us know where we're wrong. Let us know where we're right. If you want a line on that the model has, hit us up. But I think this is the highest total on the board today, and we're picking a side, so that usually seems to go well. Mm-hmm. But with Central Michigan, the fighting Chippewas versus FIU, here FIU, we're going to take them -4. I believe we have it projected at a -6. There's two factors that we like in this bet that thinks the -6 could even be greater. But the one thing you have to consider with FIU, they played back-to-back game against Flagler, which is a D2 school. So very, very hard to get up for those. They didn't look ultra convincing in their first one, but with the total up at all the way at 160, FIU plays at the 10th fastest pace. The Chippewas play at 24. This game's just going to be completely up and down the court, and it depends what you want. Where I really like this game because of the number that the model's providing. So that was my strongest edge onto it. When you dig deeper into it, FIU's coming off back-to-back 20 wins. They're losing one or two guys, but they're still a junior and senior-led class. They won't have any freshmen contributing. The Chippewas, same thing. They're bringing back a bunch of guys, but had 14 wins last season. So laying at the -4, I think it could be a small overreaction to how unconvincing FIU's two D2 games are. Can't get up for it. First battle.
Yeah.
They're at home. I think FIU wins by more than 4.
I agree. An angle just a little bit different than what you like that I like here is because it is such a high-scoring game and it is such a high-tempo game that we're going to see. Something that may develop, and I think what will end up happening is if Florida International is able to capitalize and they start to take a bigger lead, Central Michigan's going to have a really hard time eating into that lead because they can't shoot threes. They were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in college basketball last year, and as Rex mentioned, they basically returned all of their players. And when all of your players are returning and you sucked last year at shooting threes, you're going to suck again this year at shooting threes. So if Florida International is able to push this towards a double-digit lead and Central Michigan starts trying to force threes, I think that's going to be a losing proposition for them, and that Florida International is just going to get the ball back, drive it down to the other end, hit a close-range shot, and take 2 more points.
Yep, and both of these teams' defense aren't anything to write home about. So that's where FIU maybe they say they're efficient defense, but it's hard to categorize a fast break team as an efficient defense because you're getting quick shots the whole time. But going against FIU, it could, if they just get cold, that's the only thing. But to your point, FIU can hit the threes much at a better rate. So if they do get down a little bit, wouldn't be a bad game to bet live because with the high total, you could see some swings in this one.
Yep, and as I mentioned, UIC did play Central Michigan. I think it's how both teams opened their season, and UIC was able to beat Central Michigan. I think Florida International is better than UIC. So being able to lay 4 here, I like it. It's still at 4. I'd probably play it up till 4.5, maybe even 5. If I was able to get a real cheap 5 close to even money.
Yes, sir. So those are our best bets for today. Now we got some leans and some talks on the top games that we want to get into.
Yeah, so there is a high exposure MTE going on right now. The Champions Classic features Michigan State, Duke, Kentucky, and Kansas. So some really solid teams. Going to be some great action there. Both these games are on ESPN tonight, so you're actually going to be able to tune into them. Duke has decided that they're not going to play on the ACC network tonight, so I'm very thankful for that. Duke and Michigan State is the first game of these two. Tips off at 7:30 p.m. Duke is currently 3.5-point favorites over Michigan State. Michigan State had Coach Tom Izzo. He was involved with their last game, but this time he's certainly going to be even more involved. He had coronavirus. They were somehow able to isolate him from the players, so they actually didn't have to cancel or shut down anything. Seems like he was sitting up in the third deck of their practice arena and was coaching via microphone or something, because I'm unsure how they were able to avoid a shutdown while virtually every other team in college has had a shutdown that had any infections. So that will be interesting to see. Duke's the favorite here. Duke's the real big household names, but both of these teams are ranked in the AP top 25. So it's going to be a good matchup. Rex, you want to break it down a little bit in more depth?
Yeah, with Duke and Michigan State. This one is, Man, I don't know what it is. I know Duke was ultra not convincing in their first game. Kind of looked ugly, but against the Coppin State side that everyone's writing about and March favorite. But I think that's kind of with how many new players they brought in. With Michigan State, I mean, they beat Notre Dame convincingly, but I don't think this Notre Dame's side's that good. But Brendan Quinn, he's a writer for The Athletic. The Michigan State side team, they have them extremely high, but their starting shooting guard hasn't played in 22 months. Their starting power forward hasn't played in 20. Their point guard played 6 minutes per game the last 2 seasons, and their 4 guys playing at center have 4 double-digit scoring points in the entire college basketball. So just as much as it is a turnaround, or Michigan State is just getting guys back, that's where I don't know. I'm just more sold by this Duke roster. I think Duke just destroys them tonight with DJ Stewart and Jalen Johnson. I'm so convinced that Duke wins easily here that I think I just have to put some money on Michigan State because the model's saying back Michigan State. All the advanced metrics are saying back Michigan State. But I don't know if this is just the public one or I am just too low on Michigan State. This is why I'm just completely staying away from it.
Yeah, this is certainly a stay away game. Something that happened in the Duke and Coppin State game is that Duke coughed the ball up a lot, which was very strange. But as you mentioned, this is a team that turns over year after year. So when you're bringing in 5 to 7 new guys and you're only returning some role players and depth guys, I think that's what's going to happen in your first 1 or 2 games of the season. Hopefully they shook out the cobwebs. They'll be able to be very competitive tonight. I think that 3.5 is a fair line. This game is certainly going to be very close, and I think it goes down to, the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it's just it's where maybe if you weigh anything into seniority or players coming back, maybe Michigan State's guys haven't came back, but they're starting all juniors and sophomores. The best upperclassman on Duke is Matthew Hurt or Wendell Moore Jr. So you're not really writing home about those guys too much. So that's kind of where if you think Duke's going to clean it up and they grow between game 1 to game 2, maybe wait for a live number in the Dukies because playing -3, this could be an easily 1-possession game. If you like Michigan State, grab them now with the plus points.
Yep, and I really like Jalen Johnson at Duke. I'm excited to actually be able to watch Duke tonight and see how they perform with a younger squad. But Coach K is used to these young squads. He always has teams of freshmen and sophomores, so this is just business as usual for him. I think he continues on down the road, and I think it's going to take Michigan State a little bit to pull it together because, as you mentioned, the players that they returned didn't do a whole lot to actually provide to the team last year. So I think that while they are upperclassmen, while they do have that continuity, I don't think this is a mid-major team returning 5 of their starters. This is a Big Ten team that is returning their bench, who's now been thrust into starters.
So do we see any Coach K antics tonight? If they get down, does he go to a knee, grab his chest?
I think it's still a little early in the season. He's got to ride this one out a little bit farther before the health concerns can start appearing.
It's a shame that there'll be no fans at these games because they always rotate where these 4 teams always playing it. They just rotate which city gets it. I believe Chicago was the one who got it this season. So it was in Madison Square Garden last year. I forget the outcome of the last game, but the one we're about to get to, that was the fireworks with Kentucky, Kansas last season.
Yeah, so as you alluded to, the last game that we are going to talk about in the Champions Classic is Kentucky and Kansas. It's a late game, so 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you drink your coffee around 5 p.m. That way you're able to stay up and watch this whole game. Currently, Kansas is -4.5 point favorites. I'm going to talk about 2 quick injury updates for one for each team, and I'll talk about a little odds boost promotion that is going on at DraftKings. So Keon Brooks for Kentucky still 2 to 3 weeks out from playing. That is the update that I saw as of this morning. So we won't be seeing him back yet. And then David McCormick, it has been kind of day to day. He's been hobbled by a leg injury for Kansas. He's actually expected to take the floor tonight. So not sure if he'll get the full minutes that you would expect out of McCormick, but I think that he will see the court tonight for sure. As I alluded to, DraftKings is doing an odds boost promotion right now, and they are not a sponsor, so they can go. But in the matter of speaking about it, what you're able to do through DraftKings is play both teams at plus 200 money line. So, in my opinion, and what is probably like the plus EV decision is that you would bet Kansas on the money line at plus 200. They are the favorite. They're about a 5-point favorite. So take that. And then if you are a little bit hesitant, you don't think that Kansas is actually going to win, you take the other side of the Kentucky. Take the points plus 4.5. One, you can shoot for a medal. This is two tightly contested teams. It could certainly be a 4 point game, or if Kentucky's able to shake off the cobwebs of their Richmond letdown, hit some threes, and actually win out, you're able to cover the money line there. So taking Kentucky plus 4.5 and taking Kansas plus 200 on the money line certainly seems like the smart play in my decision. You want to break this game down a little bit more?
Yeah, with the Cats, it's kind of where it's similar to Duke, where you have all new guys coming in and being your top contributors, even transfers, upperclassmen that are kind of being there, your transfers. With Kansas, always rough to start it off against Gonzaga. Looked more solid against the St. Joe's squad, but definitely let them hang along for way too long there. I was just like, how are they still in this game? Getting my hopes up, lose by 22, cover there. So Kansas came out on the end. Kansas is going to be a top 5 defense. So this Kentucky team that's entirely relying on Boston and Sarr to be all of their offense could be a potential recipe for disaster for the Cats. If they can't get anyone else to step it up next to those two, it was completely evident against Richmond. That was the only way they were scoring. That was the only way of offense. Kansas definitely has the guys. Sarr could have a decent game because I'm not sold on McCormick at all of Kansas. I feel like he's the new Perry Ellis, where he's been there forever trying to smash chairs on players' heads. So so he's still there. I know the fans, the Rock Chalk fans, aren't the hugest fans of him, but the Kentucky team, their biggest spot that they're getting contribution from was Cameron Fletcher, someone who they didn't think was going to be an instant impact. He's coming off the bench, but he's been their spark guy, so he could potentially get into the starting lineup the more as the season goes. Kansas -5, it seems like the easy side, but I wouldn't want to lay the 5 there because the model does have Kentucky as 3.5 or 3 here. So this is where I think you kind of just got to sack up, go against the recent Kentucky result, forget about it, have short-term memory, and think that they can think they can hang in there.
Yeah, and I mean, Kansas struggled in that first game against Gonzaga. Obviously, Gonzaga is a highly touted team. They're certainly one of the 5 best teams in the country, but Kansas ended up losing by 12. And although they were able to make a little bit of a comeback and get it down to single digits, I think they were leading at one point. It seemed like they never had control, and it seemed like Bill Self was just over on the sideline sweating his ass off, really concerned about his team and what they are working with this year. I think it's going to take a little bit for them to go ahead and really get back to where we expect a KU team to be. Gun to my head, I would take the points with Kentucky here as well.
So what's really strange to me is I thought the model was going to be all over Kansas here. For some reason, last year, and it's kind of been a trend, Advanced Analytics hates Kentucky. They just never are favorable. Even last season when they were ranked 5, I'm pretty sure Ken Pom still had them at like 29 or 30. So that's where I was expecting a much bigger spread here. It's not, so that's why I'd also lean Kentucky.
All right. And that's about all we got planned. You got anything else you want to talk about? Any of the other games on the slate today really catching your eye or anything?
Man, that New Hampshire game was definitely catching my eye. And we got some good tournaments here. Got some other bye games. The Louisville line's fishy. Nothing really too much I want to get into. Just thinking we wrap up our best bets, and then no viewer questions this time. You guys are slacking. We need you to grill us, question us. You'll see the knowledge and the depth that we go in, where if you ask us something, we'll give you a thought on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Nothing really sticking out in my eyes. Those were the big games of today's slate, and then the Texas-Indiana game that's going to tip off in about an hour here. So that's all we got today on the second episode of Pick and Troll. I am Jordan here with Rex. So we will be signing off. Make sure to go ahead and check us out on our website. Because we are still in football season, we got a lot of college football and NFL stuff up there, especially early in the week. A little bit later in the week, be sure to check out the website for some soccer, some more NFL best bets, as well as some news from baseball off season, and hopefully some more college basketball blogs as the season gets underway.
Yeah,
Rex
I'll
is on
try
a
to.
couple shows, so make sure to check out some of his. He's got Line Breakers FC, so nice little soccer stream there. So make sure to check that out. Rex always tweets when they are going to be going live for that. Check out the website, thebreakdownsports.com. Check us out on Twitter at breakdown_sports, BRKDWN_sports. And we're available on Instagram at the same handle. Rex, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'll try to fix the sun for next week so I don't look like Two-Face from Batman. But other than that, let's have a good day of winners. Like the Aces shirt showing off your WNBA right there.
Well, WNBA love from the two-time backup team. On anyone you guys like on DraftKings for Michigan State today?
So DFS question we got there.
Yep.
Well, number one, what's JD's Twitter? Because if you need a DFS guy, he does college basketball and college football the best out of anyone that I've seen. It's Yonkers CFB. So we definitely give him that question for Michigan State, though. Just go into the roster real quick to see their most productive, and the guy who seems to get their threes is if you're looking for a lawyer and you just want your Chuck guy from there, you would go there. If not, I would have to say you have to go with Joey Hauser, who's been extremely efficient from the inside. And Duke's big guys, maybe they shouldn't be able to control Hauser. Better lineup on lawyer there, so I'd maybe go Hauser.
Yeah, I like Hauser as well. He's going to get you points. He's going to get some rebounds. And for such a big guy, he does dish the ball very well. So you're sure to catch a little bit of a break there with some assist points as well. Thanks for the question. We'll shoot it over to the guy that Rex had mentioned, JD Yonkers. We'll have him put out a little tweet to see what he thinks about any players on Michigan State today. So give him a follow at Yonkers CFB and see what he has to say about that. But that's all we got for the show today for Pick and Troll. Signing off. Hope everyone has a good day, good evening. We'll be back in a couple days. Be sure to tweet out when we are going live. And enjoy the slate today.
See you, fellas.